What up, Doe? We're back. Man, oh man, oh man. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mortgage Mayhem podcast. I'm your humble host, G Money, and this is the show where decode mortgage chaos and real estate moves so you can build wealth on your own terms. Today's episode is stacked. We got 4 viral mortgage and real estate hacks. We got a deep dive into easyfastcashfunding.com and how they're disrupting fast funding for investors. We're going to kind of make this action packed because Thursday I'm leaving to go on vacation for a minute. So we're going to try to get in as much as possible because next Tuesday, I will still be vacationing, so I won't be here to bring you any chaos. But in the meantime, in between time, hold on, guys. I got all kind of stuff going on right here. Okay, gotcha. So we just gonna get into this, man. Let's do a little house cleaning first, and then we'll get into the show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Mortgage Mayhem podcast, where the mortgage game meets real life, real talk, and a whole lot of chaos. We break down the deals, the drama, and the data behind the scenes of real estate finance, with a twist of street smarts, savvy, and a touch of madness. Before we dive in, here's the deal. The Mortgage Mayhem podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are not attorneys, CPAs, or licensed financial advisors, and nothing you hear on this show should be taken as legal, financial, or investment advice. Always consult a licensed professional before making financial decisions.
All right, so we got that past us. Let's get into it. Man, I love doing this, man. This is starting to get some people to chime in and become a part of the team. Picked up a couple new subscribers, so anytime we could do that, we're gonna be satisfied and happy, because like I always say, we just building this thing from the ground up. Oh man, let's just kind of chop it up a little before I get into it. Man, I was listening to the clips over the past couple days. Them guys, oh my God, they went hard in the paint. I think they might be a candidate for, album of the year. I know we don't really talk music here, but I just thought, we would bring it up a little bit because I enjoyed the album so much. Well, I'm saying album like I'm, back in the 70s, but I enjoyed the stream of, the music, and it was, it was very refreshing to the ear, bumping it in the whip, bumping it in the gym. So if you haven't had a chance to, take a listen to it, that first song, man, my parents are gone, and they kind of did a thing with their parents, which was, just, man, it was so moving. So if you get a chance, go check out that new Clips album. But in the meantime, in between time, let's get it going. All right, so where's the first thing we want to talk about here? All right, where are we at? Nope, we're not there. Okay. Nope. All right. The IRS says that churches can now endorse political candidates to their congregation, carving out an exemption in a decades-old ban on political activity by tax-exempt nonprofit. The IRS is now supporting a move that will allow pastors to endorse political candidates during religious services without putting their church's tax exempt status at risk. This shift represents a significant departure from the traditional enforcement of the Johnson Amendment, a provision in the U.S. tax code established in 1954 that bars tax exempt organizations, including churches, from endorsing or opposing political candidates. The agency joined religious group in a legal filing asking a federal court in Texas to limit the scope of the amendment. The case, led by the National Religious Broadcasters Associations and other Christian groups, argues that Johnson's amendment infringes on First Amendment rights, specifically freedom of speech and religious expression. In a joint court statement, the IRS and the plaintiffs agreed the rules should not apply to sermons or religious messages shared with congregation through normal church communication. If approved, this interpretation would effectively create a carve-out for churches, allowing them to engage in political discourse without the fear of government penalty. Hold on for 1 second, guys. I got to go grab this door real quick. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, but somebody's banging on my door. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Apologize for that little delay. So the IRS saying that churches can endorse political candidates. Basically, that's one of those situations where church pastors, they kind of been doing it lightweight in the pulpit. I know some of the churches I've been to, they have their political stripes without them having on their political stripes. So I just think it's good for people to have freedom of speech. I mean, you kind of put yourself in a situation as a pastor because you're going to have both sides of the aisle pretty much in your congregation. So if you're feeling one way about, one of the two parties or three parties, if you're factoring in the third party, then you just got to be available for that criticism. You got to be available for that conversation that you're going to be having with your congregation. And if you can do that, then, and you have, political, correct information. You can't just be, in the pulpit spewing untruths. Then, if you do that, then that's going to be one thing that people aren't going to take as serious. But if you present facts and you stand on your convictions, then I think that should just be something that, most churches and most pastors should have the ability to do. This. It's politics. I mean, the world is so crazy right now. Sometimes you got a lot of people just listening to, their form of news, and they don't really get an opportunity to have, alternative opinions. So if you can listen to your pastor's, putting forth truth and putting forth facts, and then let the chips fall as they may, then, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's something that, it should have probably, like I said, I know it kind of silently has been out there, but as far as, hold on for 1 second, guys. There's all kind of stuff going on up here today for whatever reason. Okay. So I think this is something that we should have open arms to, because it's freedom of speech. Like I said, it may be some things that you don't want to hear, but it could go both ways. If you're a Republican pastor or Democratic pastor or independent pastor, whatever it is that you are, third party pastor, and then it's going to be up to you to just make sure that the people that you're preaching that word to, that you, like I said, you're dealing with facts only. You're putting the facts out there as we all know them, and then you allow your congregation to come up with their own opinions based off of the facts. So as long as that's happening, I can see why that would be okay. Now, but if you're in the pulpit and you're just spewing untruths, and because you are down with one party and you're not telling the truth, then number one, why are you not telling the truth in the pulpit? And number two, if you're going to be able to do it, it's got to be fact-based. It's got to be fact-based. It can't be off of conspiracy theories. It has to be fact-based. If you're doing that, then I'm all for it. All right, let's keep this thing moving. All right, having daughters, which is crazy because I didn't have any daughters, some stepdaughters, but not biological daughters. Having daughters increases the life expectancy for fathers. Each daughter adds an average of 74 weeks to a father's lifespan, according to the research. So study finds having daughters can add years to a father's life. Being a girl dad might come with more than just heartwarming moments. It could actually extend your life. A recent study out of Poland reveals that fathers with daughters live longer, and the more daughters they have, the greater the impact on their life expectancy. According to research, each daughter adds an average of 74 weeks. That's over a year to her father's lifespan. A study quickly gained traction online, sparking controversy and commentary. Many believe the reason lies in how daughters are more likely to care for their aging parents compared to sons. Social media users chimed in with their own experiences, with one nurse noting that female adult children do way better caring for their elderly parents than their male counterparts. Others echoed the sentiment, highlighting how women often become their fathers' and husbands' caregivers. The research also suggests that fathers with daughters tend to live healthier lifestyles and engage in fewer risky behaviors. All right. So let's talk about it. Well, I mean, I've heard the same thing. Like I said, I'm in that kind of healthcare field, and I do see, there's more like women and ladies who's intimately involved with the individuals, their lives, their upkeep, in their latter years. I do have some, male figures that's involved as well, but I don't know. Women just have that touch, that soft touch. They have that caring personality. So I get and I understand. I don't know about the life expectancy rates and all of that, but as far as women being caring figures throughout, at birth all the way until the end of your run, most mostly women are going to be at the forefront of getting you and taking care of you in a way that you feel good about. Not to say that men or males can't do it, but they just don't have like that personal caring touch that women have. Daughters, of course, daughters and wives. Guys, you gotta be conscious of your daughters and your wives and how you treat them as time goes on, because at the end they will be the ones that's taking care of you. And if you have treated them like dirt, of course they'll still do it, but you'll always have in the back of their mind how bad you treated them throughout time. And although they'll still provide the necessary care, they forgive, but they don't forget. You know what I'm saying? They forgive, but they don't forget. So men, if you're out there, make sure you're taking care, of your daughters, taking care of your wives, being sweet and nice to them, because at the end of the day, as we get older, they will typically be the ones that will become, a part of your caregiving, in some kind of capacity. Hopefully you can, have all your extremities, have your mental capacity where it needs to be until the day you take your last breath. But just in case if you don't, you definitely want to have someone there that's going to take care of you with compassion. And most of the time, ladies and women are the ones who are able to do just that. So, man, y'all better think about that when you're doing wrong, or you're doing things to your daughters and to your wives, because some of us who ain't leading with health and making some healthy decisions. You know who you are out there. You guys with the guts hanging all over your belts, and high blood pressure and this and that, because you don't want to take care of yourself. When it's time for you to not be able to do much, you're going to want to have somebody that you didn't treated like they supposed to be treated, to be by your side. So yeah, that's I can see that. You know what I'm saying? I can see that being the case. But anyway, let's keep it moving. All right. Let's see. All right. All right. Starting July 15th, YouTube, which I'm on right now, will only pay creators who use their real voice and produce original content. Following will not be eligible for monetization: reuse or repurpose videos, copy content, low effort uploads, and fully AI generated videos, right? So, according to an official update, YouTube plans to tighten up its rules around what counts as original and authentic content starting July 15, 2025. The new guidelines will give YouTube more power to spot and penalize videos that are mass-produced, repetitive, or inauthentic, which the platform says doesn't align with its standards for the YouTube Partner Program. As a result, channels that churn out lots of AI-made videos, recycled clips, or certain reaction videos might lose their ability to earn revenue. All right, well, that's one of the ones right there. I mean, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but basically what they're trying to say is be original, if you're going to have a platform, treat it like you're supposed to treat your platform. Be original, put forth content that makes sense. And if you can do that, then there's a lane for you to earn. But if you're just, mimicking AI, type of uploads, you're just constantly repeating things that you may have done at the top of the month, and you still, because you haven't, produced any new content during the month, you sitting here just kind of regurgitating the same old clips. You're not going to be able to make no money off of that, right? So if you really want to get money in this lane, then just do it the right way. Upload your videos like how I'm doing right now. After I go live, it uploads automatically, and then I just let it play. I do restreams of the show, maybe once or twice throughout the week, because I only do the show once a week. But outside of that, I don't like regurgitate clips. I mean, if there's clips that's out there and they keep, popping up because people comment on them or whatever the case may be, that's the only time that I do any reposting of shorts or longs or whatever the case may be. So, just be aware if you're in the space that they're tightening up. You've been able to kind of make some money loosey-goosey, but that's coming to an end. They want folks who are serious about their content and, understands the rules and the regs and, participate, the way they're supposed to participate if they're looking at making any money, right? So I'm with it. I'm with it. All right, let's keep it moving. Navient permanently banned from servicing federal student loans, must pay $120 million in new settlement. All right, so where are we at? All right, so Diamond Navient, once one of the country's largest student loan servicers, have reached a $120 million settlement with Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, resulting in the company being permanently banned from servicing federal student loans. Type remove in the comment sections to get your student loans removed. Doesn't matter who the servicer is. In a settlement announced Thursday, the CFPB says that Navient would have to pay a $20 million penalty and provide $100 million in relief to those impacted borrowers. So the Bureau says it will mail checks to eligible borrowers who do not need to take actions at this time. The CFPB did not detail what borrowers would receive in terms of payments. By banning the notorious student loan giant from federal student loan servicing and ensuring the wind down of these operations, the CFPB will finally put an end to the years of abuse, he added. The CFPB alleges that Navient misled and harmed student loan borrowers by misleading borrowers about income-driven repayment plans, botching payment processing, harming the credit of disabled borrowers, including severely injured veterans, deceiving borrowers about Navient's requirement for cosigner release, and misleading borrowers about improving credit scores and the consequences of federal student loan rehabilitation. Student loan removal plus remove any negative credit item linked in bio, $120,000 to $1 million in funding for your corp and LLCs. I don't know what that's about right there, but once again, those bad actors who's been in the student loan business, it's coming to an end. Although they're stopping, the student loan payments and not having to pay and all that stuff. If there's some bad actors out there that were being bad actors, throughout some time now, this is just how it looks like they're going to be dealing with folks. You're going to get taken to court in class action suits, and you're going to have to pay. $120 million is a lot of money. So especially for doing something that you didn't have to be doing. You don't have to mislead people. You can have a clean business and make money. I don't understand why people, think differently. I get capitalism. It brings forth greed. And in this case, it just seems like it's, a part of greed. So we'll keep our eye on it, and in hopes that everybody that was hindered or hurt in this process will be taken care of in some kind of capacity. All right. Okay, let's keep it moving. Baltimore, Maryland's Mayor Brandon Scott says people laughed at his community based approach to safety. Now, Baltimore hits a 50-year low in homicides through mid 2025. He had to say, yes, I'm the mayor. Yes, I had to come up with and deliver this plan, but none of it works without every single one of our partners. So, Baltimore hit 50 years low in homicides through mid 2025, and Mayor Brandon Scott announced Baltimore has recorded its fewest homicide in 50 years, with 68 reported so far in 2025, a 22.7% drop from the same period in 2024. The city also saw significant declines in non-fatal shootings, down 19.6%, auto theft down 34%, robberies down 22%, and carjackings down 15%. Scott credited his community-focused strategy launched in 2021, which treats gun violence as a public health issue by investing in violent interrupters, trauma-informed support, and community partnerships. While celebrating the progress, he emphasized that work isn't done, saying 68 lives lost is still 68 too many. I agree. But it sounds like he just kind of went old school, like how it used to be back in the day. It wasn't much violence at all when we were growing up because we had things to do. We had places to go. And it sounds like he's kind of implementing some of those strategies that they used back in the day, into today's society where guns are, running rapid. I just give this dude a lot of praise. A lot of people around, the country that trying some new innovative strategies to kind of bring down the plight of negativity in their cities. You got to try things in order, to figure out, if you actually, if you're actually going to have a safe city, right? So it's just good to see that these guys are putting their money where their mouths is. They're stepping out there. They're bold. Yeah, you're going to get laughed at in the beginning because most people just keep trying the same thing insanely, expecting a different result. So you can't just keep doing the same things thinking that crime's going to go down. You got to become innovative. You got to become engaging with the community. You can't be afraid of the community. I know it's a lot of YNs out here, running rampant, but you can't be afraid of your city. You got to step up and you have to lead, and you have to lead with solutions, right? And it sounds like my guy, Brandon Scott, is doing just that. So we'll give Brandon Scott a round of applause because, he deserved it, right? Let's give Brandon some support. So that's Brandon Scott. We'll keep an eye on Baltimore. I like I said, I used to live in Prince George's County. My sons are still down in that area. And it's just good to see that, a city like Baltimore, which is primarily African American, is, putting some numbers on the board that makes sense, right? Not those negative numbers. Like you say, though, it could be better, but this is a good start. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, let's keep it moving. All right, let's bring up this young lady because she out here doing her 1-2. And you know how I like to bring up, folks who out here doing their things. From idea to empire, Forbes feature Her fantasy box CEO, Kyla Rowe, 100 million in 3 years, self-made story. How this founder built a wellness brand that puts women's health first. All right, so she turned her pain into a $100 million empire, and Forbes had to tap in. After giving birth to her son and just months after suffering a miscarriage, Calero launched her fantasy box. What started as a personal journey to reclaim her body turned into one of the fastest growing wellness brands in the country. No investors, no cosigns, no handouts, just purpose, pain, and pure execution. Since 2022, she sold over 3 million products, built a community of nearly 800,000 loyal supporters, and racked up over 100 million in revenue, all while staying 100% woman owned and 100% independent. Now she's on Forbes, and rightfully so. This isn't just a brand, it's a movement built from loss, powered by love, and rooted in the belief that women deserve better in every aisle and in every session of their lives. From heartbreak to heartline, her fantasy box really did that. So we always just like to bring folks up, Kayla Rowe. Just kind of want to leave that photo up there for a second so you guys can kind of see who she is. She out here doing big things. Execution, starting from scratch. So I like to bring these stories up because, once again, it's for motivation. Some young girl or some young woman, lady, male too, they can see things like this and know that anything's possible. You don't have to come from it. You don't have to be a part of it. You just have to, do what you have to do in order, to be successful. And that's exactly what she did. She got to 100 M's in 3 years, and I know that wasn't easy, but it took some, nose to the ground and, some daily grind. And it sounds like that's exactly what she did. So we like to give big ups to folks like her, because she definitely deserves it, and we wish her well. I don't know if you ladies know about her or whatever the case may be, but I don't know what all entails the fantasy box, what's in it, but she got 100,000. Folks that's a part of her community, and she did 100 M's in 3 years. So big ups to Miss Rowe. All right. Okay, let's keep it moving. All right. Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey unveils Bluetooth chat app that needs no internet or cell signal. Jack Dorsey, co-founder of Twitter and CEO of Block, has unveiled a new messaging app called BitChat that allows users to communicate without internet or cellular service. Built over Bluetooth mesh networks, the app can relay messages through nearby devices, extending its range up to 300 meters. Inspired by tools like Bridgeify, which gained popularity during Hong Kong protests, BitChat also offers end-to-end encryption. Dorsey, a longtime advocate of decentralized technology, opened the app for beta testing via Apple TestFlight, which quickly hits its 10,000 user limit. The app is currently under review before its wider release on the App Store. So that's Jack Dorsey, friends. Jack Dorsey is one of the ones, technology-driven guy, as he just said, founder of Twitter, co-founder of Twitter, and CEO of Block. So he's always been on the cutting edge, and now he's bringing forth some new technology. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but what he's saying is you don't need internet or cell signal, to do different kinds of chat applications. So we'll keep our eye on it. It's in the beta stages right now. We'll see what Jack Dorsey's getting ready to do. But he's always up to something. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. All right. Okay, let's keep it moving. All right, we already did that one. Did that one as well. Okay. A new term, poly workers, is making its way around corporate boardrooms, right? You gotta know what the poly workers are. I'm trying to find it here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Da-da-da-da-da-da. No, that's crazy. No, that's not it. No, that's not it either. Okay, here we go. It's a new term, poly workers, is making its way around corporate boardrooms. Many companies are cracking down on employees working multiple full-time jobs to make ends meet, violating the policy. So the new term, is professionals juggling multiple full-time jobs for financial freedom. More people are taking on multiple full-time jobs known as overemployment or polyworking to maximize their income and achieve financial independence. The trend gained traction during the pandemic remote work boom and has been amplified by AI tools that make balancing roles easy. The overemployment subreddit, which has over 430 members, showcases stories of professionals managing several jobs at once. One user claimed to hold 5 full-time jobs, earning over $3,000 a day by presenting themselves as a consultant to employers and avoiding meetings. The conversation recently escalated when startup founder Sahil Doshi publicly called out an employee for working at multiple companies simultaneously. While some see overemployment as a path to freedom, others criticize it for pushing ethical boundaries. According to the Federal Reserve, over 5% of workers already hold more than one job. Ideal roles for this trends are remote, low in meetings, and allow for delegation, often at large companies where individuals workers are less scrutinized. So poly workers, I mean, look, how you gonna stop somebody from doing what they're supposed to do to get to their bags? Once again, you're trying to stop people from, it's hard to get in the middle class, with today's society. So, one door closes, another door opens. So now you can work at a regular job and you can have multiple side hustles. So you're trying to tell me they're trying to infiltrate the side hustles no more? If this is a world that is about, allowing people to experience the American dream, or allowing people, to be a part of the capitalistic society, then how are you going to be mad at somebody from having multiple incomes coming in? As long as they're able to do what they're supposed to do at their place of work, why is this even an issue? This is insanity. You can't. First of all, you're cutting back. Jobs aren't the way that they used to be. People don't really have pensions no more. So you got to do certain things in order to stack that cheese up. So when you get to retirement age, you're not just dependent on the government, right? So I don't really understand this or whatever the case may be. I'm pretty sure, this, you're not going to stop, because worst case scenario, if you keep playing with people, they'll just quit your job and find another job that's not going to, have these same kind of antics. So if you want to keep your workforce in play, you might want to kind of back up a little bit and allow people to do what they need to do, as long as it's not, stopping their efficiency and their ability to do whatever job, they have to do. But you can't be telling nobody that they can't go make no extra money. They can't have no side hustles. That ain't gonna work, because what's gonna happen? They're gonna just stop telling you, and they're gonna keep doing what they got to do. And how would you know? At the end of the day, these folks are being nice by saying, unfortunately, we gotta, have two, three side hustles in order, to have a good quality of life. And if they can do it without breaking their backs, then you got to move out the way and let people, you got to let people cook, as the youngins say. You got to let them cook. You cannot be stopping folks from getting to the bag. It's just not going to work. You know what I'm saying? So we'll definitely keep our eye on that one. But I just, I don't like it. But, people going to have something to say in the midst of success. When you're seeing people figuring out a way to be successful, this is what you're going to run into. So we'll keep our eye on it, and we'll see what happens. All right. Okay. Let's see. Nope, I already did that one. All right, so the Supreme Court is allowing President Trump to put his plan to dismantle the educational department back on track and go through, while laying off nearly 1,400 employees. So the State Department is sending formal layoff notices to more than 1,300 employees, according to the Internal Department Communications review by ABC News. And all 3,000 employees are expected to depart as part of the reduction in force, according to the communication. But that number also includes voluntary departures. Department leadership previously emphasized that they wanted to handle the layoffs with care. Right. Individually notifying each impacted employee. However, many are learning of the change in their employment status by seeing a downloadable official personal folder that was added to an online human resource portal in the overnight hours. So they just ruthless with it. You finding out that you no longer are an employee through folders online, blah, 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 because they don't, want to. These are career folks that they're firing. That's 3,000 people getting fired from the Department of Education. I don't know, like, I've been out of school for a while now, so I can kind of sense that education ain't like it used to be. So I get it. I don't get having to lay so many people off, but I get tightening things up and making the education system better. I don't care what anybody says. The education system can be better. And if you got some folks in here, not to say that these folks that's in here are going to do just that. I don't know if they're just, tightening up the budgets because of all the money they done gave to, the top 1%. And they're, doing some other things to, make sure that those things are somewhat paid for and the deficit doesn't rise as much as it, is getting ready to rise because of the tax cuts and the different spending that's coming from the big beautiful bill. But if that's the case, then I'm not for it. But if we're looking at tightening things up, trimming the fat, and have a strategic plan on how we're gonna make the education system better going forward with the help of the education department, I'm all for that because schools, I mean, kids don't even know how to write in cursive. I couldn't even believe that they stopped teaching cursive. And I know that's a little thing, but education to me just doesn't seem like it's up to par, especially with all the technology that's at the forefront. But kids are definitely smarter now because of all the technology. So it should be easy to have the education department and public schools coming together to make the education system great for everybody, no matter where you are, inner city, rural, suburban, wherever there's public schools, they should be the best. They should be pretty much competing with private schools. I don't know why it's not like that. It's some public schools that rival private schools. I think you should look at schools like that, take a page from their book, and just put that into all the schools across the country. Because if you can do it at one school that's competing with private schools, why wouldn't you want all your schools to be like that? So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Not filling the 1,400, 3,000 employees, not filling that at all. But I am filling getting a hold of the education department and the education system and making that better. I'm for that, for sure. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so we just did that. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. And these two right here are still bumbling around, having fights or whatever it is that they're doing. Mm-mm-mm. Where are you at? Where are you at, Elon Trump? Okay, anyway. So Elon and Donald Trump is back battling with each other. um, it's the Jeffrey Epstein files, right? So Elon Musk drags Donald Trump over Jeffrey Epstein defense. Just released the files, is what he's saying. The Tesla CEO took to X Saturday night to react to a Truth Social post where Trump defended Attorney General Pam Bondi and downplayed the growing backlash over the Jeffrey Epstein's files. Seriously, Musk wrote in response to a user who called Trump's post the worst ever. He said Epstein's half a dozen times while telling everyone to stop talking about Epstein. Just released the files as promised. Trump post defended Bondi, writing, "Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great." He also claimed Epstein client files were created by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration. Musk didn't hold back. Whether another user called the Epstein scandals Trump's Achilles heel, Musk replied, "This is a very big deal. What the hell kind of systems are we living in if thousands of kids were abused? The government has videos of the abusers, and yet none of the abusers are even facing charges." So, this is just, I just seen something today. The Republicans voted to not release the files. So, once again, it's always administration or the government is always going to be hiding something. And in this case, people are saying the reason they're hiding it is because the president allegedly might be on the list. Allegedly. And I know him and Epstein were associates, friends, or whatever the case may be, because they got 18 million pictures with them together. So I don't even know what all this is about, but they're not letting it go. They're basically, tweeting about it, social media posts about it, and the president and his team are trying to do everything in their power to get people off the subject. So we'll see what happens. If it is whatever they're saying it is, and a ton of kids have been, hurt because of these powerful men taking advantage of them in one way or the other, then, the chickens will come to roost. So we'll keep our eye on it and see, exactly what is going on at some point, or not. The government is hiding stuff forever. John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you name it. If they don't want it to come to the light, it won't come to the light. That's for sure. So we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know if something comes down the pike. But as of right now, it's just back and forth. It's just back and forth. All right. Okay. All right. I got 1,800 emails coming through, text messages, everything in the middle of the show. All right, so let's keep it moving. Trump quietly removed statue of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office, is what is being reported. So the bronze statue of Martin Luther King Jr. Is no longer in the Oval Office in an attempt to redecorate the space last month. They claim the statue of Martin Luther King has been located in the Oval Office since Obama took office in 2009, but that's no longer. Although Trump left the statue unbothered during his first tenure as president, this time his administration has moved it to a private dining room where he holds meetings. In a unsurprising turn of events, a statue of Winston Churchill was moved into the Oval Office. This particular statue was moved to the Treaty Room on the second floor of the White House during Obama's tenure as well. USA Today claims the administration is simply trying to spruce up the place, but something in the milk ain't clean. I don't know about this one. This is crazy. The president has the right to do whatever he wants to do. I guess he's whitewashing the Oval Office as well. This is one of the most important men of our time. But I can't. Elections have consequences at the end of the day. Elections have consequences, and this is a part of those consequences. We can be mad about it, but the president has the right to do what he wants to do in the White House when he's the president. So, although it's insanity and, us African Americans don't like it, they probably didn't like when Obama took Winston Churchill out of the Oval Office and put, the statue. So it goes both ways. Martin Luther King was about peace. So we're just going to kind of keep it peaceful. On this particular article, we'll keep our eyes open. It didn't do too much damage. I mean, people talked about it and then it was pretty much gone. So that's why it's up to me to kind of step in and make sure that, we get some of these things to the forefront on my platform and to my audience, just in case you miss something. I want to be the one who kind of educates you where you're not missing things, of that nature. So we'll keep an eye on it and, see what happens. All right. Da, 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 da. All right. I wanted to talk about this. I didn't get a chance to talk about it last time. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. Over a decade later, Flint, Michigan replaces lead pipes that contribute to the Flint water crisis that started in 2014. More than a decade after Flint, Michigan made headlines, my hometown, born and raised, for its contaminated water crisis, the city has now replaced the majority of its lead pipes. A new report filed by state officials in court this week confirms that around 11,000 lead service lines have been swapped out and over 28,000 properties that were affected have seen repairs. This marks as a major step forward for the community, which endured years of unsafe drinking water and national attention. Alan Overton from the Concerned Pastors for Social Action, a group that helped sue the state in 2017, said this milestone shows the community's determination. He noted that although replacing the pipes doesn't erase the harm done, it represents meaningful progress. Flint water troubles began in 2014 when the city switched to the Flint River for its supply to save money, leading to discolored water that tested positive for lead and other contaminants. It took until late 2015 to return to safer water, but the damage had been done. The CDC estimated nearly 100,000 residents' determination. He noted that although replacing the pipes doesn't erase the harm done, it represents, once again, meaningful progress. So, man, this was crazy. It was, like I said, I'm from Flint. I wasn't living there at the time, but I have friends and family members who were still there and went through all of this. And, so I don't want to talk about it too much because it's still, a lot of people were injured behind this. And it's still kind of a sore spot. People were supposed to be receiving monies from it, haven't received monies. A lot of people were sued. They received monies, but the people who went through it, I don't think they've received a dime yet. So I don't really know what's going on as far as the compensation piece of it. But I definitely wanted to bring it up because although, like they say, it ain't stopping or it ain't, taking away from what actually happened. They finally got their arms around it, after 10 years. Like I said, pipes have been replaced and homes that was affected have been repaired. So it took a minute to get it to that point, which we all was just kind of sitting back like how and why, but a lot of money has come through Flint to make these changes. I don't know if all the money have gone towards this, but to see that, it's back in the news in a positive way is always good. So we're going to keep our prayers up for Flint and this whole water crisis, and in hopes that everybody that was affected has been brought to some kind of conclusion in however they were affected. I know physically it was affected, mentally, of course, they was affected. But like I said, I don't think the ones who were affected physically, I don't think they've received a dime. And I think they sued and a lot of money was garnered from the lawsuit. So, it's still some fireworks to come from that. So we'll keep our eye on it. Like I said, it's right in my backyard, my hometown. So something pops up, I'll be, the first to bring it to the masses. All right. All right. So we're almost to our deep dive. I wanted to bring this young lady up right here. Um, she's the only Black woman U.S. bank owners helping Americans invest in Africa without credit checks, right? Her name is Dr. Banasha Poole Watson, a U.S. Air Force veteran and the owner of the only Black woman owned financial institution in the country. And now she's using her influence to bridge the gap between Black Americans and African land ownership. Standing before a group of disparate investors, Dr. Poole Watson shared her mission to make African real estate accessible without the red tape of traditional U.S. banking systems. Through her international lending group at Central One Lending Group, she offers real estate loans across the entire continent of Africa with a special focus on Ghana and over 120 other countries, including the Caribbean, Central and South America, and parts of Europe. Here's the game changer: no credit check required, interest rates as low as 7% to 14%, compared to international rates up to 35%. Loan terms from 2 years up to 30 years fixed. Monthly payments made directly to her bank, just like in the US. So, to qualify, you must be a U.S. citizen, have a history of real estate ownership, past or present, to prove payment responsibility. Whether you're buying, building, or developing land, Dr. Poole Watson can help. You don't see any other bank owners coming down and talking to people, she told the crowd. The truth is, my program is designed to help our people achieve ownership. It is a movement right now, and prices will increase as people continue to migrate, and things will definitely change. So, right now is the time to integrate yourselves, get involved, and seek seek the other side. To get started, you can visit her at centralonelendinggroup.com or at I am Banasha, and that's Benaisha. Not just opening doors. She's not just opening doors, she's building bridges. All right. So that is Dr. Poole Watson. I don't want to mispronounce her first name, but I think it's Banashia. So let's kind of, take a peep at her. Next time I come, we'll do a deep dive on her company so we can kind of get a little bit more information on what it is that she do. And then, we'll come back forward. All right. All right. So that is our hot topics for today, folks. We're going to bring up our deep dive folks and let them um, jump into breaking down easy, fast cash funding, see what they are about. And then we'll be back. We'll come back. We'll do our mortgage hacks. And then we'll get out of here because vacation is right around the corner for me. I can't wait to get out of here. It's been, it's been crazy for the past 7 months, but we survived it, Lord willing, and just things. We're just blessed, right? Blessed to be going on vacation. Blessed to have had such a great year so far. And we're just gonna keep our fingers crossed and keep our prayer hands up to make sure it continues to, go that way. But if you live a clean life, typically positive things are always ahead. So let's bring them up. All right, so let's do this. Let me do this. Okay. Do do that. I'm going to take myself out. And here we go.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everyone. Glad to have you with us. Today, we're jumping into something really practical. Modern small business funding. We're looking specifically at a company called Fast Cash Funding. Our mission really is to get a quick handle on what they do, what makes their approach maybe a bit different, especially for businesses needing, immediate growth fuel. Let's unpack it.
Absolutely. And it's crucial, isn't it? The whole funding landscape. It keeps changing. Understanding these diverse options, especially the ones promising speed, is just vital for any business trying to stay agile today. It's a pretty big shift seeing how fast capital can potentially move now.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. It's fast cash funding lists. 4 core funding types. You've got SBA 7A loans, standard term loans, merchant cash advances, and lines of credit. They really push this angle of immediate funds for immediate growth and call them fast funding solutions. That speed message is front and center. And they put numbers on that speed claim, which always catches my eye. They're talking funding decisions, potentially, in as little as 2 hours. 2 hours. And then, if approved, getting that money into your business bank account in less than 24 hours. Now, you can see how for a business owner facing, say, a sudden inventory need or a critical equipment repair, that kind of speed isn't just nice to have. It could genuinely be make or break.
It really could. That speed is definitely appealing. But, it also makes you think about how they achieve that, which leads us to their idea of flexible funding solutions. This is where it gets interesting beyond just speed. So take their merchant cash advance, for example. It's not your typical loan. The payments aren't fixed. Instead, they flex based on a percentage of your daily or maybe weekly card sales.
Okay, so if sales dip 1 month.
Exactly. If you have a slower month, your payment automatically goes down. That's a buffer. It directly tackles that revenue volatility lots of small businesses deal with, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they mention repayment periods up to 12 months, and you might get funding up to like 250% of your monthly card volume. So it aligns repayment with how your business is actually doing in real time.
That flexibility does sound genuinely useful, especially, like you said, for seasonal businesses or anyone with those revenue swings. And something else jumped out at me. They specifically mention a Square and Toast buyout program.
Ah, yes, that's quite specific.
Right. So for businesses using those common POS systems, maybe they already have a cash advance tied to Square or Toast. This program suggests as fast cash funding can basically buy out or refinance that existing advance.
Which could mean potentially better terms or maybe just simplifying things by rolling advances into one.
Yeah, it shows they're kind of plugged into the tech businesses are already using.
It really does. It points towards, financing solutions that are more integrated with the actual mechanics of how businesses make money today. It's moving away from just generic loans towards something more tailored, an interesting innovation.
And it seems they try to back this up with service too. We saw some customer feedback. One example was a business owner who got an SBA loan sorted out quickly through them. They specifically praised the team for being professional and really supportive.
That's important because let's be honest, navigating SBA loans can feel, slow and complex sometimes.
Definitely. So smooth, fast experience there would stand out. Okay, so let's pull this together. We've got speed, really fast decisions and funding. We've got diverse options, including those quick SBA loans and the adaptive merchant cash advances, and this flexible payment structure tied to sales. What does all this mean for you, the listener, the business owner?
Well, it seems to be about getting access to capital that's not just fast, but maybe a bit smarter. Capital that kind of works with your business rhythm.
Intelligent capital. I like that.
Yeah. And maybe that leads to a final thought for you to mull over. How could features like these, the super fast decisions, the payments that adjust with your sales, these targeted buyout programs, how might that change your strategic thinking around finance? Are you just thinking about funding for emergencies? Or could these tools let you plan for more ambitious growth or maybe just give you more confidence navigating, choppy market waters? It's about viewing funding not just as a lifeline, but as a potential strategic lever.
That's a great point to end on, thinking strategically about these newer funding tools. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for tuning in. Keep exploring how funding options like these might open up new possibilities for your business ventures.
All right, guys. So that was our deep dive into easy, fast cash funding. My boy over there, Darius, he's been doing this for a number of years, so he's an expert. So if you guys are interested, just reach out to him. Go to the website, easyfastcashfunding.com, and he'll help you out. He's been doing it for a minute now, so he knows exactly what he needs to do and wants to do for his clients. So let's finish this thing up with a couple mortgage hacks. The ARM Heat Shield is our hack number one, using your short-term adjustable rate mortgages during low rate cycles, then refinancing into fixed once you've built property equity, balloon risk control with savings. Hack number two, the have discount trick. Time closings at month end, so prorated interest is minimal. Saves you hundreds up front before you even move in. That's a big one right there. Hack number three, partner equity exchange. Co-invest with passive partners using self-directed IRAs or health savings accounts. Pool resources without traditional financing, right? And then our last hack is our lease option flip. Secured lease option contracts with rent credits to build purchase equity. Flip or sign the contract for profit before ownership. All right, so that is our 4 hacks. And guys, that's going to be the end of the show. I appreciate you guys for coming and listening. Once again, we're just building that community. And this is just another episode where we dropped the hacks for you. We gave you a real understanding of easy, fast cash funding, what's it's good for, and where to, trend carefully. If you're tired any of these hacks, if you try any of our hacks or plan to use easy, fast cash, DM us or hit the comments. We want to hear your results. But don't forget, guys, to subscribe, share the episode with your investor crew, and catch up for more real estate gold when we come back. Right? So once again, I'm not going to be here next week, guys. So don't think that it's a wrap over here. We'll just take a week off. And then the following week, we'll be right back here with some more hot topics, some more hacks. We're just going to keep doing this thing. We're going to keep building it until, I see that there's no real rhyme or reason for me to continue to come to the platform, but I don't see that happening. So, you're going to get used to me. You're going to, be in the midst of me growing this thing. And as time goes on, we'll just get better. We're better than we were when we first got started. It's more comfortable to me now. Starting to, friends and family members starting to, talk about the show and appreciate me, giving back the way that I'm giving back. So I'm thankful to be here. Without the man above, there would be no me. So just giving a shout out to the sons. I just think about this, like I'm gonna always have, these videos. So if at some point down the road, my grandkids, when I get grandkids, or, my sons, when they start having kids, they'll be able to always, come back and, look at their granddad in some kind of capacity, because I don't think YouTube's going away anytime soon. So I'm thankful to be able to do that as well, leave an imprint, so they'll be able to just kind of look and see what I was, what I was about, what I was talking about while I was here on this earth. So big ups to that. But I ain't trying to go nowhere no time soon. So, we're going to keep living healthy. We're going to, keep health as wealth. We're going to stay in that gym. We're going clean that eating up, eating clean and, drinking that water, just trying to be the best that I can be and the best that we can be as a community, right? So until the next time, keep it P. Keep it P, right? All right, I'm out of here. Talk to y'all later.